Published 7:51 Eastern Standard Time, the 11th of November 2018. Updated 12:19 Eastern Standard Time, the 11th of November 2018. Jeremy Corbyn was branded scruffy and disrespectful today as he was widely mocked on social media for choosing to wear a grey anorak to the Armistice Day service at the Cenotaph. The Labour leader stood out among a sea of black overcoats as smartly dressed politicians and dignitaries attending the 100th anniversary commemorations in London. It evoked memories of former Labour leader Michael Foot's infamous donkey jacket moment 37 years earlier, when he was subjected to barbs over his appearance at the Cenotaph in 1981. Scores of viewers watching the live coverage said they were shocked at the politician's choice of attire, with one man claiming he looked as though he was going fishing. Princes William and Harry, as well as their father Prince Charles, were in full military uniform as they attended the parade in Whitehall. Others, including Gordon Brown, Tony Blair and David Cameron, attended wearing dress coats. The criticism of Mr. Corbyn was similar to that delivered in the Michael Foot donkey jacket row in 1981. Britain's leader of the opposition Jeremy Corbyn lays a wreath during a national service of remembrance at the Cenotaph, wearing an anorak. Corbyn's coat row. Critics of the Labour politician were angered by his choice of jacket, with some saying he looked scruffy. Those surrounding Corbyn opted for dress coats as they remembered the war dead. The then Labour Party leader was blasted for wearing the mid-length jacket. Another politician in his party said he was disgusted to see that the leader of Her Majesty's opposition looked more like an Irish navvy than a party leader. Later, it emerged the coat was in fact an expensive one, chosen by Mr. Foot's wife Jill to make him look elegant. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher stands beside Michael Foot. In 1981, on the day he was accused of wearing a donkey jacket to the Cenotaph, Mr. Corbyn bowed his head after laying the wreath, and wore a poppy, yet scores of critics were angry about his jacket. However, critics of Mr. Corbyn today said he looked scruffy beside them in his choice of jacket. Talk radio presenter Julia Hartley-Brewer was among the critics. She said on Twitter, "I know it's petty, but does that Jeremy Corbyn seriously think that a bright red tie and a scruffy hooded coat are appropriate wear for the Cenotaph? Or is he just trying to signal to his lefty anti-war chums that he doesn't really want to be there? Such poor judgment." Ben Young Man added, "Nice to see that Jeremy Corbyn has turned up for Remembrance Day dressed as a scruffy geography teacher. Not even wearing a black jacket. At least he's got a poppy on, I suppose." Tina Elliott said, "Scruffy and disrespectful." In 1981, Michael Foot was notoriously accused of wearing a donkey jacket to a service at the Cenotaph. Lined up alongside an impeccably turned-out Margaret Thatcher, Foot stood out in a patterned tie and distinctively collared coat. Times diarist Michael Horsnell jibed that Foot was dressed as if he had just returned from walking his dog on Hampstead Heath, in green donkey jacket, sneakers, and paisley tie. The Labour MP for Derby South at the time, Walter Johnson, was even harsher, saying Foot looked like an out-of-work navvy and had displayed gross discourtesy to the servicemen he was supposed to be honouring. For many, the image at the Cenotaph summed up the problems with the shambolic-looking left-wing academic. Labour was later routed at the 1983 general election, with the party's manifesto branded the longest suicide note in history. Ironically, that was the year Mr. Corbyn was first election as an MP. Foot later admitted that he never expected the opprobrium over his coat, saying it was actually an expensive gift from his wife. He said the Queen Mother had voiced approval by remarking, "That's a lovely warm coat you've got on." Cheryl Townsend added, "Could it Jeremy Corbyn look any more scruffy for the remembrance service? This is a man who wants to lead our country. Hood inside out, scruffy, not even holding his wreath up. Someone buy him a black crumpy for goodness sake to show some respect." Prime Minister Theresa May teamed a smart black coat with a hat and a large string of pearls. She also laid a wreath, alongside German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. However, supporters of Corbyn said his coat does not matter at all. Richard O'Neill said, "Before you idiots start banging on about Jeremy Corbyn's coat, I'm a 79-year-old ex-army, war pensioner, and I don't give a flying toss what he wears. He is the only politician I know who would actively protect ex-service personnel, unlike the Tories who create their problems." Others said his choice of clothing does not matter as they praised him for his politics. Another user added, "I see they're out for Jeremy Corbyn again. It's the wrong coat this time." You want to judge political leaders on respect they show for war? Fine. Check their voting record, not their clothing. This man shows more respect than anyone. Lined up alongside an impeccably turned-out Margaret Thatcher in 1981, Foot stood out in a patterned tie and distinctively collared coat. Times diarist Michael Horsnell jibed that Foot was dressed as if he had just returned from walking his dog on Hampstead Heath, in green donkey jacket, sneakers, and paisley tie. The Labour MP for Derby South at the time, Walter Johnson, was even harsher, saying Foot looked like an out-of-work navvy and had displayed gross discourtesy to the servicemen he was supposed to be honouring. For many, the image at the Cenotaph summed up the problems with the shambolic-looking left-wing academic. Labour was later routed at the 1983 general election, with the party's manifesto branded the longest suicide note in history. Ironically, that was the year Mr. Corbyn was first election as an MP. Foot later said the Queen Mother had voiced approval for his outfit by remarking, "That's a lovely warm coat you've got on." Angered viewers of the Remembrance Sunday parade said they were outraged at his coat. Critics said only Jeremy Corbyn would shun a dress code for an anorak, but Michael Foot did something similar. In 1981, among the critics, some people pointed out that the Michael Foot episode, while asking whether his clothes at the important event were the kind of attire a leader should wear.